Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, we're not going to work on these trees. I'm going to take a peek at them and get some ideas for the next video. But while I do that, because I want to practice taking my time and really giving them a good look over, I'm going to take some time while you catch up with something from the expo. Yeah, it was almost 2 months ago that we had the Big Live Bonsai live stream expo on YouTube, over 9 hours of content. And this one was, I think, one that a lot of people wanted and would probably do again. And I hope we can come up with more questions for him. It was the Q&A with the one and only Nigel Saunders. Enjoy, everybody. Welcome to Bonsai Acres. We have this wonderful image of the man, but let's put up the man himself. There he goes. It is the one and only Nigel Saunders. He's still sticking with us. Can't thank him enough. And we are about a half an hour to 45 minutes over the clock that I anticipated we'd be. So we won't take up too much more of Nigel's time, but thank you for being our keynote speaker, Nigel, and this thing called Bonsai. And I have to say, I would imagine most of the people that have been on this expo who have a channel or who do bonsai have probably got started or done something probably because of you. So your contribution to bonsai, I think, is second to none. Your passion, your kindness, your generosity, and all you share in bonsai, my visits, other people. I could go on, Nigel, but welcome back to the show, and thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Dave. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the expo. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's been a fun little thing. Now, I didn't know how long people would sit there and watch, and we'll have parts, posted later, but some people are sticking it out. I really appreciate that, and there's just a little bit of something, hopefully, for everyone, and yeah, if we ever do another one, we'll maybe make some tweaks and stuff right there. So I have Mr. Rack Cross joining me, not live right now. He can if he wants to. Rack, if you have the invite for me, I can try to resend it. Rack has kind of helped me with moderation now with all the questions that might be streaming in really fast.
Okay.
And I can't keep up to them. So
well,
this
Dave,
is go ahead. Yeah.
I thought because I don't do any live streams that this would be a good opportunity for a question and answer session.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's the whole thing. I don't want to be the whole one yapping here, Nigel. I want stuff from all the folks out there. So if you are out there right now, that's exactly what I want Nigel and I to do. I want Nigel to just answer questions. You've seen his videos. You maybe have met him in person, like I have a couple of times, and there's always questions. So send your questions in. I will try to monitor them as close as possible. I will ask that everybody
else read the questions, Dave. I'll just answer them then.
Yeah, if you can see them, I can see them. And Rack, if we miss a couple of important ones, if you can chime in with re-answering the questions, or I will get him on the stage as we need to. So right away, here we go. Let me see. Good. Any questions yet? No questions yet. So Nigel, well, give us a quick summary. How are your trees? How are things going?
They're doing well. We've had a very warm and humid summer so far, with kind of a few cool periods in between. So there's been a lot of time spent watering and taking care of the trees. Yeah, the summer's going well. It's another warm, humid day today, and we're supposed to get a thunderstorm this afternoon.
The weather has been interesting this year, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been very interesting. And that's one thing about bonsai, is that nothing stays the same.
Yeah.
You get good years, bad years, and you just try and get your trees through them.
All right. I'm going to show a couple questions here. They're starting to come in. So first one right here. Oh, my gosh. Here we go. Let's do this one from Chris Marshall. When is the temple coming out, sir?
The temple. Well, it was indoors here for quite a while. My son and I moved it outdoors fairly recently. There's a few problems with the temple. The cement I used to make it, some of it didn't harden very well. And I thought, well, I'll leave it a while and maybe it'll harden up, but it didn't. It kind of went soft. So parts of the temple are falling apart, and it looks pretty good. It looks like natural ruins.
Sure.
But I don't want it falling apart anymore. So I'm at the point now, do I take the trees off and try and fix the temple up and then replant the trees against it? That's probably what I'll have to do. So there'll be some work coming up on that. Just kind of strengthening the temple up.
Yeah.
Well,
we can't wait to see it. That's been a fantastic project. I love it. Very, very cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I like looking at it too.
Nathan's got a question for you, sir, there. Can I bare root my sticks and pots into my raised beds at this time of year?
Yes. Generally with roots, as long as you don't do any heavy root work, you can transfer a tree from a small pot into a larger pot, as long as you don't go doing hard pruning on the roots and try not to remove a lot of the fine roots. It should be fine. It may have a bit of a setback, but then it should pick up for the rest of the year. There's some trees that I wouldn't do this with, but most trees you can get away with it.
I don't know if this was for you or for some of the chat going back and forth, but if you collected any trees, and if so, what was your favorite or most gratifying?
Yeah, I have some. I have a few collected trees. I don't really collect old trees. They're more collecting genetic material. But I do have some that, were probably 20 years old, some old cedars. They grow along this pathway at this estate, and they just cut them all off with one of those, not a lawnmower, but a brush cutter.
Yeah.
So they cut them all off to stumps, and you get these stumps, and then they regrow.
Okay.
And I have a cedar that I collected it, and it was growing in pure clay, and I collected as much of the root system as I could.
Yeah.
And I was taking it from, you have to drag them from the bush back to your car.
Yeah.
And it was about just over halfway. I thought, I can't do this. It's too heavy. It was really, really heavy. It must have weighed, I would say, like about 70 pounds. It was heavy. And I was with my young son. He's grown up now, and I said, I don't think I can carry this anymore. And he says, oh, you're over halfway. You've got to do it, Dad. And so that gave me the strength to carry it for the rest of the way to the car. And
sure.
Yeah, so it's turned out quite well, the tree now, and it's still growing really well.
Fantastic.
But it has a good story behind it about not giving up.
There you go. Love stories behind trees. Natural State Wally is asking, do you recycle your bonsai soil, Nigel?
I occasionally do, but I don't recommend it unless you take the steps to sterilize it, wash it, and it depends what water you use. If you take the particles of soil, they're porous. And if you're watering with like well water or tap water, those pores get clogged up with calcium. So the soil particle isn't as porous anymore.
Okay.
And you can notice the difference between fresh soil and old soil, that it doesn't soak in the water as much.
Okay.
It almost repels it. And you can get weeds, you can get pests, and you can get disease from old soil. So if you take the steps to wash it thoroughly, sterilize it, some people put it between two black pieces of plastic and leave it in the sun for a couple of days.
Yeah.
You can use it, but I don't recommend it, especially on trees you care about. If you're starting seedlings and you've got young trees that you don't really care about, maybe you grew 20 from seed and you don't really care if you lose a few. Yeah, use your recycled soil for that. But for a good tree, I wouldn't recommend using recycled soil.
Fantastic. I can't believe no one's heard the story before, but Bonsai Crazy wants to know that how you got started in bonsai. You got your elevator pitch on your story there, Nigel?
I'll give the quick summary. We were given poinsettias at work in my office. I was in the product design, And we were allowed to keep the poinsettias after Christmas, and I kept watering mine. Everyone else's died, and so I was growing this poinsettia, and then in the pot something sprouted, and it started to grow, and it looked like a little tree. It had a woody trunk, and it turns out it was a ficus microcarpa.
Okay.
And so I took this little tree that was growing in the poinsettia pot. I put it in its own pot, and it started to get too big. It started filling my windowsill at work. And I thought, I better prune it. And I knew nothing about pruning. So I went to the bookstore and I was looking through the gardening section on a book, How to Prune Trees. And I stumbled across the bonsai section, and I had never really heard of bonsai before. And I thought, wow, this is a hobby, keeping trees miniaturized and that. And I was just fascinated. And like a week later, I had 12 trees. And then a month later, I had 20 trees. And now I have.
And look at you now.
Yeah. So it was totally by accident. And I still have that first tree. It's 33 or 34 years old now.
So the elephant in the room, Nigel, I don't know if you've ever been asked this question or not, but the story behind your hair, do you have a vision where you'd like to go with it? Coming from a bald man, no less.
No, my hair, I've always had really bushy, tangly hair, and it's very difficult to brush. It's like, I would say it's kind of in between an afro and normal hair.
There you go.
And I was going to the Montreal Pension Collection, and I showered at this hotel, and I don't know what they had in the water, but it made my hair go all curly and frizzy, and it started to like knot up, and so I couldn't comb it. The only choice was to cut it out, and it just went from that to it just kept getting more and more tangled, and so now I just left it how it is, and it's
there you go. Well,
totally by accident, but it's I don't know. My wife hates it.
Yeah.
My wife absolutely hates it.
Well, speaking of your wife and your family, another serious question from a listener, a viewer. Does your family get any of your attention, Nigel, or does it all go to your trees? The burning question, Nigel.
Yes, I try and balance my trees with family life. Generally, my wife, she raises chickens and ducks as a hobby. So she spends as much time doing that as I spend on my bonsai. And yeah, I would say, I didn't start the channel till the kids were getting older. Well, no, I guess they were fairly young, but I've always included them in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife, she doesn't really see the point of bonsai. She's more into growing fruits and vegetables, things you can eat, and practical things. And
there you go.
And like any art form, art is not a practical endeavor. It's something for the soul.
Very good. Oh, great answer. Let's leave it right there, Nigel. That's perfect. Let's go back to the trees, Nigel.
Okay.
Joe would like to know this. Can you talk a little bit at all about Korean maples and how they compare maybe to a Japanese maple? Any similarities, differences that you know about with Korean?
Yeah, the Korean maples, they have a different leaf shape. Some people say they're not as attractive as Japanese maples, but I would say they're somewhere in between a trident maple and a Japanese maple as far as looks. They're kind of a little fancier than a trident maple, but not quite as fine and delicate looking as a Japanese maple.
Okay.
The growth on a Korean maple is a little coarser. It would be more comparable to maybe like a bloodgood variety of Japanese maple. They're not quite, there's a lot of different Japanese maples, and some of them, the inner nodes are a few millimeters or an eighth of an inch.
Right.
It depends on the species, but generally the growth is a little looser. Mm-hmm. But I think both can be made into wonderful trees.
Nice.
And every tree has a unique characteristic, whether the bark color or the leaf shape or the fall colors.
Yeah.
And you just have to appreciate it for what it is.
Absolutely. Steve was wondering about your April Fool's Day this year. What happened? Were you too busy or what's going on?
I was. I was too busy, and then I thought, it just snuck up on me, and I didn't get time. And then my wife said, "Well, maybe do an April Fool's joke sometime other than April Fool's and see if people get it." The trouble with the April Fool's videos is that I would say half of the people that watch them don't realize it's a joke. And, and that's the danger with any joke, is that people might take you seriously.
Hey, I've been wiring my pine needles for a while now. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, they probably look at this guy and they say, "Oh, he's just insane. Why would he do that?" And,
I love it.
So an April Fool's video will be coming sometime this year.
Nice. I love that. How about the Thuja occidentalis? When do you repot yours, Nigel?
I repot them when you see new green growth starting on the tips, and it's usually later than most trees. I've potted them as late as mid-June here.
Okay.
So you really have to wait for new growth to start appearing on the tips. You're fairly safe. Like, they have a winter color, which is like an olivey, rusty color. And then when the weather starts warming up, they flush and they turn a green color. But that doesn't mean they're growing. That's just circulating the sap within the tree.
Sure.
So it's not until those new tips start growing that the roots start to grow. So just before that happens is the ideal time. And it's usually late spring. So I always leave my thujas for they're kind of the last hardy trees I repot.
Yeah. Okay.
And they can take bare rooting, no problem.
Nice.
They can, they're good at growing roots. Just keep them moist.
Okay. Excellent. SB Bonsai, brand new YouTuber here within the last few days. He has this question for you. Any projects in mind for the winter, Nigel?
That's interesting, because this winter I didn't have much of a. Usually I get everything done kind of early January, and I have like January till kind of mid-February before anything needs doing. So I have that space in winter to work on a project. And this winter, I just didn't have it. I just had trees I had to work on pretty well right through the winter. So
yeah,
I didn't have a big project this winter. And maybe it's because I don't really want to add any more trees. I just want to sort of maintain what I have. But there's always things I want to do. So, this winter I just didn't have the time.
Well, we'll keep looking forward to them because they are great. I didn't do a project this winter either, so that's very, very cool. Manders, many hot days on the balcony. What tips for your style of root work? I tried using sphagnum moss to increase success. I'm not sure the specific question here, but tips for a hot balcony with root work.
This year, I've been adding a lot of trays of water under my trees.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of advantages. Is one, it gives that reservoir of water. So when you have really hot days, it keeps the root system a little cooler because it's drawing on that pool of water. It keeps them hydrated better. Like maples, they grow way better with a little tray of water. And you just want the water to be touching the bottom of the pot, not so the roots are drowning, but just so it can draw it up. And the other advantage, what was the other advantage? When you're watering, like you water the tree normally, but any excess water that runs out the bottom of the pot fills the tray up instead of going on the ground. Yeah. So if you're using rainwater, it's always good to conserve your water because you never know when you're going to get like a month and a half drought where it hardly rains.
Yeah, for sure. Big question here with a couple with the species here. Blue Atlas cedar scion onto a cedar Lebanon rootstock. Whoa boy, grafting. Now he's asking about the UK, but your tips for that project there, Nigel.
I'm not a grafter. I'm of the belief that the species basically should stay the species it is. I don't.
Sure.
I'm not one of grafting. Different foliage on different junipers and that. I like to see the species for what it is, from the roots, the trunk, right up to the foliage. So I'm not a grafter. I wouldn't be the person to answer that question. Sorry.
All right. we'll move on. Thanks for your honesty. I appreciate that more than anything. What do you see as the long term for your collection there, Nigel?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I see there's a lot of trees now that are slowly becoming better kind of showable trees, and they take more and more time every year. So I've already given away a lot of my starter trees, ones that were, properly root pruned and underway, but maybe in my lifetime, I'll never see them develop. So, and you can have a lot, if you have too many trees, there's always trees in your collection that you're neglecting, that, your better trees get all the care and attention, and some of the trees, you keep them watered and alive, but you're not doing everything you can to them to make them thrive. So sometimes it's better to give away those trees to someone who would really appreciate it and take care of it than you just having it sitting in the back of your bench doing nothing.
Yeah.
So, a lot of mine I will be giving away to people in the club, and that if they want them.
Sure.
And long term with my collection, it would probably go to the Toronto Bonsai Society. And when people pass away, they auction off the entire collection. Mm-hmm. So they will come to your house, they'll have an auction, and people just buy the trees. And the important thing, you don't want to give away your better trees to someone who doesn't know how to take care of them, because if you spent 30 years developing a tree, an inexperienced person can kill it in a week. And there's, you want it to go to someone who at least has a good chance of taking it to the next level. Because I think bonsai, in your lifetime, you can grow a good tree, and then in another generation, you can grow a great tree, and then maybe a third generation, you have something that's just outstanding, that's no one can touch. It's just a legacy tree that's just awesome.
I think that's been a tough thing with our club too, is those legacy trees, and when people do pass on, and it's like where those trees go, and that's a tricky part for clubs, I think, and we've struggled. We don't have a plan in place. A lot of us step up and bring trees where we can and get them to the right people, but
I think if you give them away, people don't value them as much as, like, if I spend $800 for a tree, I'm going to give that tree a lot of care because I don't want to waste my $800.
Right.
But if someone gives you a tree, it's not quite the same stake. So sometimes giving your trees away is not a good thing. It's better that someone buy it and take it more seriously.
Yeah. So I have a picture I can add to our little presentation here on Nigel, but this question is about the Ming Aurelia. It's kind of tough to bonsai. Talk about some tips maybe for everybody. I'll get a picture for everybody, two of mine.
Well, I think they can be bonsai'd quite nicely. If you're trying to develop a stereotypical bonsai, it's not probably the best tree. But if you look at this picture, that is a beautiful tree to me, and it captures the style of the Ming Aurelia, and it looks natural. So I think a lot of these trees, if you come into the expectation that, well, my Ming Aurelia is going to look like, a Japanese maple or a Japanese pine, it's not. It has its own unique upright growth, and you can manage it to a certain degree. You can get branching, but it's not going to be what people think of as a bonsai. It's going to be a miniaturized tree version of itself. And I think that's even more special than trying to make every tree look like a bonsai.
I love it. Thanks for your content, says Yoko. That's how you pronounce it. How many kids do you have, and are they into bonsai at all? You might have answered part of this earlier, but go for it.
I have 3 children. I have 2 girls and a boy. Julian's my youngest, and my oldest is going to turn 26 this year. Yeah. And my middle daughter just had a child, so I am a grandfather now. And
Congrats to that. Here's a question from your buddy Jay. People have been talking about you getting people started in the hobby, and look at that. He's blaming you for getting him into the crazy hobby.
Well, thanks, Jay, and I'm glad you joined the hobby. Jay
Yeah.
met his best friend through Bonsai, so that's uh, that's pretty special.
Great, great, great. Looking for some more questions. Is this for Nigel? Are you coming to the UK anytime, Nigel? Has anybody tried to pull you as a guest speaker?
I've done some online uh, at some of the UK bonsai meetings as an online guest. I was going to go to the UK, but the problem is I have like 280 trees here, and my wife she's busy enough with her chickens and running the house, and I was going to go visit Scott Winard from Let's Do Bonsai, and we were going to tour, go to Peter Chan's and everything, and I just thought I can't go to the UK and have 2 weeks of fun spending all that money, and my poor wife would be at home trying to do everything she regularly does and keep my trees alive. And
Yeah.
so I put travel off. I do day trips, but I'm not going to do any travel until I've given away all my trees, which I hope is until I'm like 90. But
You heard it here first on the expo, everybody.
I'll
When
do a world
Nigel,
tour like Peter Chan did.
when he's 90, he is ready to go. You might know this gentleman. I'm not sure if it's the same
Eric,
Eric.
and Ellen.
Nigel, when are we going to see the PA forest repotted?
That's one. I've been thinking about it a lot, Eric. I I want to do a Kubu Island landscape with the Portulacaria afras. Uh, it's kind of how it's styled now, but I want to do it even better and more convincing with better rocks and more landscaping. And I've got that pot that Sophie made, a custom pot for it. And I'm wondering if I should go bigger, more landscape,
Yeah.
or use that pot. I'm not sure. I might use that pot for my Schefflera, try it out in that. So I'm thinking about it very hard. No decision has been made yet.
No decision will be released on the expo here live with Dave.
Exactly.
How about the iconic bird's nest spruce? A lot of people love this tree. A lot of people love this tree. Tell us more about that one.
Imagine Nathan commenting on that. I think it's his favorite tree.
Then he held it? Yeah.
I know it is. The next viewing, well, it's just spruce are funny trees. Everything happens in spring. You repot them, and then you pinch a new growth and I do the structural pruning in winter. Correcting any branches that need pruning.
Yeah.
And then they grow in spring and they get these beautiful light green tufts and you pinch them back. Mm-hmm. And then for the rest of the year, they basically do nothing. So unfortunately, all I could do is show you it and it looks exactly the same as it did 2 months ago. So I think next for it, I do see some branches that need thinning. It's a kind of tree. It's a very weather-beaten tree, and I've got to be very careful not to keep the foliage too lush on it. It's got to match the trunk.
Okay.
So I find that with a lot of trees is that the trunk doesn't match the foliage. That you have this really old, collected, weather-beaten trunk, and then it has this massive dome of beautiful, lush green foliage, and it's like, well, what made that trunk weather beaten if it's growing in such ideal conditions? So exactly. So I have to be careful in the bird's nest spruce to keep that foliage looking like it's barely hanging in for survival, not that it's spoiled and pampered.
Awesome. The Bald Yeti's back. When do you do the big cut coming up on a Thuja occidentalis? Hard prunes. Time of year?
When do you do big cut? The best time to do big cuts on them, I would say the best time to do a big cut on any species is basically when they're not growing that much, because a big cut like that is not going to heal very quickly. And
Yeah.
if you do a big cut when it's actively growing, you're going to lose a lot of sap. It's just going to bleed like crazy. So I try and do my big cuts early winter, like in November, December, kind of around then. Once the leaves have gone that olive brown color or not olive green color, you know the tree is dormant, the sap's not flowing. You can do the big cut then. That gives it kind of the whole winter to do some healing. It's not going to heal much, but it will a bit.
Yeah.
And then seal it up, and then in spring it should keep growing.
All right. Very nice.
Yeah, there may be some differences opinion on that, but that's when I do it, and it seems to work okay.
Awesome. We'll take about 5 more minutes of questions. I'm going to go through a few more scrolling here. Susan, dwarf lilac, struggling. Any advice for a dwarf lilac?
Well, I had that French lilac, and it withered away and died. And I think it's because I probably root pruned it a little too heavy. So my advice would be keep a fairly strong root system on it. Plant it in a fairly deep pot, keep it well watered and fertilized, and it should do okay. Try and duplicate the natural temperatures that it would see. Usually the dwarf lilacs are Korean lilacs, so try and duplicate the weather they would get in Korea. So whenever I get a species I don't know much about, I find out where it's natively grown.
Yeah.
And then I check the weather in that country or that region it's growing in, and that gives you a really good idea of what the best temperatures are to keep your trees at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Bonsai Druid, back budding on an old pomegranate trunk.
The age-old question.
Yeah.
Trees don't naturally want to back bud on old trunks unless they get really, really old. Generally, to get back budding, you need to let the tree grow really vigorously and then cut it back hard. So I would suggest you grow 3 or 4 sacrifice branches. Let them grow really long. Don't prune them for 2, maybe 3 years, and then cut them off. And suddenly the tree will have this fantastic root system that's trying to create the upper structure, and it's got nowhere to go, so it'll send out back buds. That's kind of the general way of doing it. And you may get them on the trunk, you may not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hit or miss. It's a gamble. Dave from Dreaming of Bonsai wants to know about a few other hobbies. I know you are into cars a little bit in your truck, but anything else you do besides bonsai, Nigel?
Yeah, I think if I had an infinite number of lifetimes, I would tackle a different hobby with each lifetime. I made violins for a while. I made 3 of them. I do a lot of digital art. I did a lot of concept work for theater and stage productions, laying out these stages and all the events. So concept art. And I enjoy that. The only part of it I didn't enjoy was the long hours and sitting at a computer for 14-hour days. It was really tough on the body. And so that's why I slowly phased out of that kind of work into more doing bonsai. So yeah, I have a lot of different hobbies. I appreciate a lot of different things, but you can only have so many. So I try and concentrate on bonsai and a bit of automotive work, and that's about it.
Only so much time in the day. And speaking of time, let's wrap it up with one final question from me, Nigel. I just, again, a lot of this, what we do this for is we're trying to figure out, all of us, how to make our bonsai just a little bit better.
Yes.
It's the 26th of July, 2025, the 27th for other viewers, perhaps. What is one or two things right now in your bonsai career that you would pass along to any one of us in this community right now to improve our bonsai? What one or two things should we be really focusing on in your mind, Nigel?
I think you have to. There's bonsai, then there's better bonsai, and then there's quality bonsai, and then there's high quality bonsai. And where you want to take your tree is up to you. What level you want to take it to. If you want to grow super high quality bonsai, then it takes a lot of work and a lot of techniques. If you're happy to have a bonsai looking tree in your back bench, then you can make that fairly simple, but it may not have the beautiful branch structure supporting the canopy and all that.
Sure.
So be patient. Like I said, to create a good bonsai takes a lifetime. And if you make even a slight bit of progress every year, you're on the right track. Progress in bonsai, like the big cuts and the styling and wiring, it happens maybe 3 or 4 times during a bonsai's lifetime. So it's not something you're doing every summer. It's not something you're doing every day. I would encourage people to study trees in nature. That's the source of bonsai. And then bonsai is an interpretation of what you see in nature. So it's like a landscape artist goes out into nature and he paints a landscape from a real landscape. No one paints a landscape from someone else's landscape painting. So don't copy bonsai you see. Do something original. Make it your interpretation of what you see in nature. And that's what gives your bonsai individuality, and it doesn't look like a clone copy of everyone else's. I'm going to leave by dissing black pines and trident maples. I've watched some shows, bonsai shows, and in the shohin displays, at the top of every shohin is this black pine. It represents the mountain tree at the top. And I swear, out of the 8 shohin displays, that black pine at the top looked virtually identical on every display, and it was very disappointing. Black pines don't look like that in nature, and neither do trident maples, those thick trunk tapered trident maples with the horizontal branches. So that's why I encourage people to look at trees in nature and try and make your interpretation of them. Don't copy other people's. The black pine and the trident maples, it's almost become the standard in bonsai to make your trident maple look like that. And it shouldn't be, because that's just one sumu trunk version of a trident maple. Trident maples in nature are these beautiful, graceful, flowing trees. They're not thick trunk tapered monstrosities. So
tell me how you really feel, Nigel.
Yeah, well, it's just something that, if you had a trident maple at a show that was graceful and beautiful, people would say, well, a trident maple should have a thick trunk. And I disagree with that totally. So do your own thing. Make it, make your bonsai your individual interpretation and your artwork.
Fantastic. Well, before I say goodbye, one more question that someone wanted to get through real quickly before we go.
Okay.
The Marsscape, are you doing work, or are we going to show the Marsscape soon here, or what's going on with that?
It has aloe growing in it, and the aloe's still alive and growing well. And it takes up a lot of space, so I'm going to make a smaller planting using the same soil. It's on my to-do list, so it'll be coming up sometime.
Nigel, thank you so much. I appreciate you as a human being and as a bonsai practitioner, and just thanks for all you give to this community.
Well, thanks for having me on the expo, Dave. It's a wonderful day. I could do this every day. Just go online and talk bonsai and listen to guests, and it's fantastic. And I hope you do it again next year. Well,
we'll see. No one's asked me that yet, but thank you for putting it out there, Nigel.
Okay.
All right, you take care, and we will
right.
see you in the future, I hope. Mr. Nigel Saunders, everyone. And if you want to see him in that beautiful rendition from my niece, there it is. And that, again, will be signed with Jonas's picture and my picture and giveaway a little bit later on.
Welcome to Bonsai Acres.